Good morning, it's Friday again. I'm Maurice Barrett. As usual, I've been thinking this week about Satan. How much power do you think he has? We know he's not got the power of God. Well, maybe I'll surprise you, but I think Satan's power is very limited because he can't do anything without God's permission, because he's under God's authority as a created being. And he needs a legal right to do anything. Had to get permission off God to plague Job. And so it is with us. Let me ask you a question. How do angels and devils fight? How does the spiritual warfare go on? Well, it can't go on with bows and arrows and swords and shields and guns and bombs. Because you can't kill a devil, you can't stick a sword through an angel. They're spiritual beings, they can't die. So who wins? How do you know when you've won if you can't kill anyone? How does the battle go on? Well, it's simple. It's a legal battle where God is the judge. And Satan's only the accuser of the brethren. He's just the accuser. That's what Satan means, the adversary, one who stands against. It's a legal situation. God is the judge and Satan is the accuser. Thank God we've got Jesus as our advocate, our defending solicitor. And humanity, that's us and everyone on the planet, we're in the dock. We will have to stand before God. And Satan accuses us and hopefully Jesus defends us. The only power that Satan's got, I believe, is to deceive. I believe that's his only power. When Satan deceives us to disobey God, we come under God's judgment and God does the cursing. Satan's the accuser and God curses us. In the Bible, I can't find one scripture where Satan ever cursed anyone. It's God that hands us over to Satan. But it's God that does the punishment. Let me read Romans 1:28. Even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over. So nothing to do with Satan. They've been deceived to not acknowledge God. And so God handed them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. So God hands us over to all these sins and hands us over to the devil. Well, in the Garden of Eden, let's go back to the beginning. Satan didn't curse anyone, it was God that did the cursing. Let's read it, Genesis 3:14. God cursed the serpent, he cursed Eve, and he cursed the ground for man's sake. Genesis 3:14. And the Lord said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle, and upon your belly shall you go. And to the woman he said, I'll greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. Many more conceptions than she would have had. In sorrow you shall bring forth children. That's a curse. And your desires shall be to your husband. He shall rule over you. So that proves that before the sin of Adam and Eve, Adam didn't rule over Eve. But that's a curse to women that men rule over them. And to Adam he says, because you've hearkened unto the voice of your wife and eaten of the tree, cursed is the ground for your sake. He didn't curse Adam, but he cursed the ground for Adam's sake, to help Adam so he could work with the sweat of his brow, keeps him out of mischief. The devil makes work for idle hands, as we say. Well, when God chose Israel, he gave them a choice for obedience and disobedience, blessings and curses. Deuteronomy 11:26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. And when Israel disobeyed God because they'd been deceived by Satan, they came under God's judgment and God cursed them. Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. And We read in the Bible, the history of Israel, they were cursed all the time. Whenever they backslid, God cursed them with famine and all sorts of things, and their enemies coming in. So it's all about the judgment of God. Satan has no power to judge. He can only deceive us to come under God's judgment. I know many Christians plead the blood to protect them from Satan because they believe Satan has power that he hasn't. And so when circumstances happen they don't like, they plead the blood. That's unnecessary. You don't have to plead the blood. The blood was to protect them from the wrath of God and God's curse. They put the blood over the doorpost, and God says, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. The angel of death won't come near you. So the blood was to protect them from God's judgment, nothing to do with Satan. So it's all wrong theology to plead the blood. We don't need it. We're saved by the blood of the Lamb. But the blood doesn't protect us from Satan. Blood is to protect us from the lake of fire, the wrath of God. Satan's the accuser, not the judge. Therefore his only power is to accuse, deceive, then accuse and not punish. That's God's domain. Well, Jesus told us not to fear Satan. Why would I plead the blood if I don't fear Satan? But fear God. Satan can only do what God allows him to do. Matthew 10:28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him, God, who is able to destroy both body and soul in hell. Well, we're in the last days, and of course God will allow Satan to deceive the whole world, and terrible persecution will come upon it to the children of God. There'll be millions of martyrs, I believe. Well, I'm finishing now, but Christians throughout the ages, in my estimation, have made Satan too big, too powerful. And in making Satan big, that diminishes God's power and elevates Satan's. Very serious. I think it's time to align our thinking with the Bible, not our feeble, fearful minds, and be bold and be strong. It's time to start to believe and act like children of God. We're children of God. Satan has no power over us unless we're deceived and disobey God, and then we come under God's judgment. So it's time for us not to fear the world system and the terrible things that will come on the earth, and look up and rejoice, because Jesus is coming in great power. All power is given unto me. So there's none left for Satan. His power is deception. And then Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. One little common or guardian angel will say, come on, Mr. Satan, and lock him up for 1,000 years. Not an archangel, just an ordinary angel. That's how much power Satan's got. Nothing without God's permission. Well, the time's gone, so have a wonderful, fear-free week and keep thinking.